So, Jack,
Hello.
what if, right, you were a caster, a coach, an editor-in-chief of some site that no one's ever clicked on? What else do? You take photos of things.
Yeah.
You're
Ride
also quite
horses.
handy at Counter-Strike. You ride horses, and you take photos of people riding horses. What would you do with all your time, mate?
I don't know. I'd probably come on a different podcast and give my opinions on things.
Right, so for those who are wondering, that was a description of Freddie. I'm not sure what side of the screen he's on compared to me, but Freddie has once referred to
Down
himself
there.
as the Swiss Army knife of esports, and I'll let him defend that claim to introduce himself.
I'm just so glad I've come onto this podcast. Yeah, that was a riveting interview, a riveting introduction. Thank you very much for having me. I haven't spoken to you guys actually in a while, so it's cool to come catch up on a podcast. And how do I defend myself as the once claimed as the Swiss Army knife of esports? I think it's pretty valid. I think I've earned somewhat of the title. I feel like I feel like it's earned.
I'd like to say I agree, Freddie, but I've once heard you do multiple interviews about skins with players in the playoffs of
You did do
a
that.
Cologne,
3 years ago.
and your team just disbanded. So let's talk about another team, because I want to talk about a team known as Belfast Storm. Right, let's talk about FURIA, because obviously... No,
Oh, I thought you were actually going to ask me about Belfast
No,
Storm.
I'm not
I was
gonna
about
ask
to
you
be
about
like, what
Belfast
are you-
Storm.
I was like, I don't
Viewership
think
has just
any,
gone on
yeah,
that
no
straight
one
away.
cares.
yeah, it's not happening. You're all shit. So last week...
Were shit.
No, Freddie, it's not...
Yeah.
Drop it, mate. Last week, we were speaking about FURIA signing Molodoy, which was a bizarre move, and
Well,
their
then.
bizarre moves just keep happening because they're now apparently benching skullz, which I think we probably all agree is a decent move, and they're signing YEKINDAR,
Not
which
as
could
decent.
be a really good move if they recapture YEKINDAR. It's great. I have thoughts on that, but Freddie, I'm intrigued to hear your first thoughts.
Is it
Thoughts
the
first, mate.
the general thoughts on what the fuck is happening with FURIA, right?
Whatever your thoughts are.
Yeah. My first impression is, does this Kazakhstani kid even speak English? Like, what's the language? Like, I assume he does at some stage. This guy's got like a handful of HLTV matches. I don't know. Like, sure, he's individually sick, but there's no chance he's ready to go from a CCT closed qualifier to what FURIA won. And like, I think Art has come out and said about Fluxo, saying it's a long-term project and FURIA won every tournament to be a victory. How the fuck are they going to go from that methodology of they won every tournament to be a victory and pick up someone who is not proven whatsoever? This feels like a crazy thing, and it's not going to work, but if it does, they're going to look like absolute geniuses.
I didn't realise until you said that how few HLTV games he's got, and now I've just looked at it. It's really not many, is it?
I'll say I feel like I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of tier 2, tier 3 below players. I didn't know who this guy was until this year, and I don't think many people did. So I think that just goes and says of like, sure, he's played insanely well in some of those games, but again, it's a CCT close qualifier, so there's a bit of a difference.
Do we think that their concern of being victorious at every event, like they haven't been for like, I don't know, 500 years?
They haven't
Like,
ever been.
Right? So
this is a
does,
woke
does,
lie.
does like I get what you're saying, sure, but this is equally as good of a chance they have as every other tournament with skullz and who'd they bench? Who'd they bench for Holiday?
Cello.
Cello. I respect Cello. I think he's pretty good. But you know, so YEKINDAR coming in, like that's going to be interesting. I don't think his time in Liquid was much. Let's be honest. It's an interesting move. I've seen rumblings on the website formerly known as Twitter that they were looking at simple for Fallen.
No, like
I don't know how
that-
crazy
That's-
that is.
That one's
Yeah.
definitely not true, because who the fuck's going to call?
Well, you think if they're building a Eastern European core, which they have 2 out of 3 of a core right now, and FURIA
Yeah, maybe-
do have money.
They just
Like-
completely transition. Like,
Yeah, like at this point, if you look at this roster now, we're going to have 3 Brazilians, a Latvian, and a Kazakh. You know, which MRQ are they playing in 2026? It's not going to be South America, is it? Let's be realistic.
It'd be stupid to. I feel like that would be pretty stupid to. Have...
This is the only way to get Keisarato on a European team, is to just take everyone else out from around him.
yeah.
Okay. I don't
I
know.
mean,
I feel like it's stupid to go from to actively want to play in the European MRQ. Like that feels like such a bad idea. No.
Yeah, it's suicidal. We'll talk more about the MRQs and why that's suicidal in a bit. But with this YEKINDAR thing, like, am I wrong for thinking it's actually a good signing?
No, I like
Because-
YEKINDAR.
Well, because, like, the thing is, right, we all know he was shit on Liquid, but what did he actually have to work with on Liquid?
Liquid
'Cause,
was shit in general, though,
well-
right?
Well, yeah, and let's not forget, like, when YEKINDAR first joined Liquid, he fucking saved that team.
Yeah.
Like, he pulled that team up, they were really good, but he also had Nitro that he could use as a supportive element for himself. Once Nitro was gone, and yeah, he had some weird ego IGLing thing that, you know, could have broken him. Fair play, who knows? But what, like, he was the only aggressive person, and then they had Patsy, which was horrid. That team was just never going to work. And then he went back to just being like this poor soul trying to fight everyone
was
himself
also on
while
Liquid
everyone
for
else
3 years,
was
right?
baiting.
Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like obviously the most recent Liquid like roster. Like I think we group him in that, but he was also there a lot longer. He joined in October 2022. So
That was before that.
Like-
That was when he joined properly, but he played Cologne 22, didn't he? Wasn't that his first
you know
tournament?
he did. Yeah, you're right. Wow. Yeah. Well, there we are then, right? Like so, for all of the the most recent era, if you want to call it that, of Counter Strike, he's been on Liquid, which is crazy to say.
Like you can only give someone so much of a benefit of a doubt, right? Like, okay, fair enough, Liquid wasn't great, and a lot of the resources around him weren't good, but he individually wasn't good. And then again, how much benefit of the doubt can you give someone if they were on a roster for like 2 years plus and they still were shit?
I think you've got to give some credit, and without going into behind the scenes info, like the environment, the culture on Liquid was not good for the last.
Oh
year,
yeah, at
right?
some points it was horrid.
Like I'm sure people have heard things that may or may not have happened, right? Like that was not a nice place to work. So, and being the kind of player he is, you probably need to be pretty like comfortable in the zone and trust your team, right? To play the way he played. He was known for playing, right? Which was like your crazy aggro, first in site cracker, right? Can't do that if you don't trust your team to close for you, right?
And he was just isolated as this like single point of aggression for so long that it's like he probably on other teams he would have had like fantastic roles, like set up to be the star. On that team, it was just the worst spot to be in. I'm willing to give him some time on FURIA. I still don't think like Fallen's English is fucking superb. Keisarato's is decent enough. I can't say I've ever spoken to Yuri. Jack,
Yuri speaks very good English, yeah.
So like their English
Language
is
is not going
good.
to be an issue. Not at all.
YEKINDAR's English is really good. Molodoy, who knows? But like, I presume he's played a shit ton of Face It. Like, he's probably got serviceable English that will only get better.
They're not going to sign him if he can't speak the language, right? Like they've done something to check that. I'm sure.
Like last week, I feel like I was negative on it because, they still needed to fill the hole that YEKINDAR's now being signed to fill. Now I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's see how it goes. But let's move on because there's a bit more roster moves, a few more roster moves to talk about before we move into some actual Counter-Strike. 9 Pandas have benched their entire team.
How many pandas?
All 9 of
All
them.
9 of them.
In fact,
Yeah.
which is
Freddie, who was online pandas?
Well, the one person I want to talk about the most is Moon. Well, to be fair, I actually forgot who was on it before. I did literally cast and interview them 2 days ago. But do you want to finish, Sam, what you were saying, and then I've got some stuff to say.
I will ask you what the fuck is a moon. Very shortly.
It's a circle in the sky.
Not quite sure it's a circle. It's more of a sphere. But no. But no. So what I was going to say is like, it is kind of interesting the amount of talent that's just been kind of put out into the open. Like, yeah, sure, they're not free agents, but there are some decent players there, and there are some teams that, you know, if they have a little bit of a blip, actually all could improve from signing any of these players, and that goes right the way up to the top to Spirit. But yeah,
the CIS region is always needing more talent, I think, in the sort of free agent pool.
Oh yeah. It always needs that. Completely oversaturated region needs more talent. Yeah, good one.
Free agent talent, free talent.
Right. So Freddie, what the fuck is a moon?
Well, a lot of people might not realize, unless, like, again, you were kind of watching, but 9Pandas at the start of the year signed this, like, random kid called Alv, who was kind of nuts. Like, as in, he was AWPer, no one really knew who he was. And I think, like, his opening games, he played really, really well in. Maybe struggled when he was playing against better opposition. Like, I think when they played Blast Bounty against, like, Wildcard, for instance, or Liquid, he didn't really do too great in those games. But he only lasted, like, a handful of games. And then 9Pandas, up until they signed Moon, only a couple days ago, didn't actually have an AWPer on their roster. They had cadiaN standing in for, like, the, let's say, like, 2 months that they were without using Moon. So they were playing all these officials with no AWPer, and it wasn't like, oh, cadiaN AWP'd every map or something like that. Literally every half, every map, it was a roulette of every round was a roulette of who picked up the AWP.
I support that.
It was insane to watch.
That's how the game should be played.
Like,
yeah,
we had
it's
a best
open
of
cheating
3.
anyway, so...
Yeah,
Roles are woke.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work for them, or it kind of did. They beat like Paravision and shit like that. Like, they actually did well. That's not very good anymore, but you know, they made like a CCT semi-final run or something like that, which is worrying that they should be able to do that with no AWPer. I think we saw a best of 3 where every single player used the AWP at some stage. But yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, then they picked up this guy called Moon, who obviously AWP'd. But it was interesting to see them pick up someone like Moon, who complete random, instead of picking up someone like Easy, for instance, who was at least a little bit more tenured as a young AWPer. So I feel like when I look at 9Pandas and how they're not, they're all benched, a lot of signs point towards maybe this isn't a new revelation. Like, why would they pick up an AWP who's just a nobody for a month or a couple games? Why would they not use an AWP and use cadiaN to stand in for 2 months? Like, feels like a lot of things are pointing towards maybe this isn't something that's happened within the last 2 days.
By the way, right, that Moon kid, not a fucking clue who he is. I watched him play one game in the MRQ. He did okay.
He did,
actually, on 9Pandas, he did all right. Like, those are some respectable ratings against, like, some not great teams, but like big. He was serviceable against. Betboom was serviceable against. B8, he had one rough map, one passable map. Like, fair play to the kid. Probably put himself in the shop window. But yeah, Jack, I know you had something to say about this.
So for some context, so obviously they went 2-3 in the MRQ. Probably expected, right? I don't think the result's bad. But there's some interesting things here. So the CEO, Julia Sodnikova, sorry if I butchered that.
Perfect.
She has said that some of the players asked for the opportunity to restart and consider other offers. And Overdrive has claimed that this is due to a possible closure of the org, reporting the loss of a critical sponsor. I'd say potentially 1xBet. I think they are having some issues with, legalities within esports, so that could be possible. But the CEO has basically stood by it and said it's a sporting reason. There is no result. Motivation decreases and the team connectivity is destroyed. And they've also said that, something is new ahead. Which I'd like to segue to 2 weeks ago I believe, with the very sudden and unexpected acquisition of the Eternal Fire roster by Aurora. Could we be seeing another, gambling-backed Russian org with, with money from other esports as well, looking into buying an established EU team? And if that's the case, what team?
I mean, look, I hope so, because there are very few teams with names as good as Nine Pandas.
This is true. Yeah.
Shit brand other than that.
Yeah.
But Nine Pandas is a name I can get behind. Mm-hmm. Unless they sign 3D Max, in which case they can go fuck themselves.
I think that's quite likely, though, actually. I think I know they re-signed recently, but there's been some organisational tension between the roster and the org for a while with 3D Max, right? There was rumours that they weren't going to play. They were going to play the last major as an orgless team, right, and kind of as a mix or whatever. And then they announced that they've renewed the contracts. So I don't know. If 3D Max are still having money troubles, and some Russian guy's gone, hey, here's some money, give me a team. I think maybe they bite on that, right? I'm not sure what other rosters there could be. Freddie, I'm not sure if you've seen anything that's interesting.
I mean, you look at it and it's like, what other rosters could they get? Navi Junior is the big obvious one until you realise it's Navi and it's Nine Pandas.
Contract jail, yeah.
No, not even that. Like, they're just not going to do business with Nine Pandas.
Yeah, valid. Yeah, good point.
Right.
With the 3D Max, because you guys mentioned them picking up 3D Max, which would be a logical conclusion, because I think it's been very known their troubles. Didn't they fix that? I assume by the concept of them still being there, and they re-signed contracts, because, their contracts, like, some of their contracts were running out. It was Graffiti's contract ran out last year, so he's re-signed this organization.
Do you know what the thing is, though, with that? Like, I feel like that's the type of thing where, like, they fixed that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the sort of thing that...
It's a Band-Aid, right?
It's a Band-Aid. Like, it maybe goes away for 6 months, and at the end of the day, like, 3D Max might occasionally have cash flow issues. They might occasionally pay, like, 2 months late. I don't know what the issue was. Like, that's speculation. Whatever.
I think it was a lot of months.
Fine. But as long as they eventually get paid and they can have it as like, look, we always get our money, it's just late and that's fucking annoying. That's better than the alternative, because 3D Max, even at the place where they are right now, which is 11th in the world on HLTV and 10th on VRS,
yes,
there's no real fucking guarantee anyone's going to pick them up. Because there's just never a guarantee in esports.
Yeah, this is true, right?
Okay.
And the further issue with the system and the format, and we don't need to harp on this every week because it's a tired argument, right? But like, being in an org when it was partner leagues meant something, right? Like, you were guaranteed to show up to events. Well, that too, but also like, as a player, right, you were getting events. That's not there as much anymore. But the guarantee of events is also not there because of TOs not having their own ranking systems and whatever, right? So it's a smart decision from them, I think, to stay. I think what could be interesting, and to sort of copy Aurora especially, is if they sign the Mongols. Because
there's no way that's happening.
There's no way that's happening.
With the recent things with like Mongolian government, not a fucking chance.
Is the Mongols an org, though?
Like, I was going to say, that's like, the whole Mongols concept is like a family. Like, the players, the org, like, I think the
you're saying that, but they were IHC in 2022. And the brand was revived, right? Like, I don't even think that it was a real company until IHC
but they are
that team.
They are now, like, fucking signed to the government or whatever. Like.
Yeah. I'm sure that, like, they're backed. Like, I'm not trying to be like that. I think that the government, they are the ambassadors of Counter-Strike or something, like, legally.
It's something ridiculous.
Chance,
like,
there's no chance that anyone's like, and I also
but I don't know if this is.
Happy with...
I'm sure they are, but I don't know the ins and outs of this org. If they are a company that has bought a roster to play under them, right? Or if it's one of those sort of weird hybrid things, like you think, like when NIP first came back into like CS:GO and stuff, right? Like back in the day, like the players sort of brought that name into it, right, for themselves. Like the org sort of came around it. I don't know, but like IHC was an org, right? IHC still has a roster.
So I'm looking at two teams, and these are the only two teams I actually like outside of 3D Max think there's any possibility I'll say this before we move on quickly. Apogee
Yep.
and Amiga. They're the only two teams where I think, like, in the top 32, which are the only, like, that's the only band in which it's worth doing. Those are the only two that I could see Nine Pandas, like, spending money on outside of 3D Max.
Yeah.
Marsborn.
I think that's
Move
fair.
on! Right, move on. Fucking Marsborn, fuck off. So, Acor announced his free agency. Anyone care?
Good for him.
Moving on.
Yeah, thought so.
Sure. Yeah.
No, we're not talking about it.
No. It's...
I'm sorry, Acor, mate. You're a good bloke.
Get on the podcast.
TSM.
Give us your story. We'll platform you. Why not?
That
Yeah.
TSM project was so fucking bad, man.
Yeah, we don't need to.
I forgot
go
he was
into
even
that.
on TSM. Sorry, mate.
500 have also benched a player, which I don't particularly care about, being honest, because, like, you know, we'll slap the allegedly on it. These fuckers were defo cheating. They probably
Yeah,
also
but
have
they
a
did
good
bench-
hand in.
They
Good
did
hand
bench the
in
guy
match fixing.
that is radaring, right?
Yeah,
The
like,
guy that's most guilty. The best
every-
entry fragger in the world who clears every angle where people are. It's amazing.
yeah.
I wish I had his game sense.
Until fucking Relog are like making it so it's virtually impossible to cheat.
Yeah. Also, just on that, the relog camera rules and stuff, absolutely amazing. Everyone
Sensational.
should have this. The fact that it's not been a thing,
Yeah.
it's crazy. But like, one monitor only. Your camera has to be like these three options. I think if we can get it on screen, that would be really helpful to illustrate what I'm talking about. Because, you know, having these shady ass bedroom angles where you've got like a mouse cam that's right under your chin, is bullshit.
Well,
So,
because the
very
thing
good.
is, I don't know, like you can kind of, it's like logical conclusion, but admins have the power to pause a match, because normally we see cameras in online games and like CST playoffs, they have cameras, right? Admins can pause a match and be like, fix your camera, but they don't. So
really?
well, obviously they don't, because it
Oh, you mean
happens, right?
players in general or 500?
Anyone. This is
Okay,
not.
yeah.
I'm, by the way, not throwing anything at 500. I'm saying.
I was just asking for the
Instead,
sake of my
yeah.
own.
Oxygen had a 0.51 rating.
Yeah, I mean.
Don't-
He has been their best player online, normally. So
Yeah, but so.
if it looks like a duck and it sounds
But
like a duck,
I was more throwing it more to the fact that like this camera issue is something that is not like all these tournaments use cameras. They just use them ineffectively, and it's not like they don't have the power to do so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in the rule books of like they can disqualify teams if they don't use the cameras correctly. They just choose not to. So in the future, the hope is that this then just gets enforced a little bit more. And I don't even think it should be something like this. This is not a correct camera angle. The correct camera angle is having it like you can see the setup. You can see if there's a second laptop attached to them. Like that is where the camera
we'll
angle
show
should
that
be.
with the examples, right?
Isn't
Like it
it-
does show that they're kind of better.
Isn't it also a thing? And I can't remember if it was a 500 player or some other player, but like when he was playing officials and when he was on stream, he'd move his camera in
People
like
would
two
turn
different
off
places.
like there's actually some insane stories. Like you can. There's been times where we've looked and we've just been like, what, like you know. And then in this qualifier, what needs to be investigated is allegedly Kenzie Zor said cadiaN turned off his camera during tech pauses.
Yes, I did see that.
Allegedly, big fucking allegedly. But
Yeah.
I mean, who's cadiaN bending rules in an online event?
yeah, shocker. I don't know
I'm
if I'm
not-
allowed
I'm
to
not surprised.
really. I don't know if I'm allowed to quite go.
We're only
I don't know
saying
if
what's been said by the people, right?
You-
Like this is
you
not our
can-
opinions.
This
but-
one's about me. This
Oh.
is yeah. Tournament admins need to really step up in so many more ways than just one. The camera angle is the very obvious public outset, but rule books need to be stuck to sometimes. And I feel like players get given excruciatingly like too much sway. Admins are supposed to be the admins, so why?
Well, the
don't
thing
they?
is as well, like, and I'm not gonna call out anyone's integrity, but like you get this suggestion all the time in like football with like it feeling like the Sky Six as they're referred to, like Spurs, United, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, get protected by referees and they get more coverage from Sky and all this stuff. Like, Astralis are a fucking massive org that need to be at majors, right? This is the fucking 5th one they've missed. If they were trying some underhanded shit, wouldn't be surprised, right?
At all.
I mean, historically, Astralis and Blast have always been a bit of a handhold agreement, right?
But
there's
these
no
qualifiers
conflict
had
of interest
nothing to do
there,
with
by the way,
Blast.
guys.
No, I'm
These
sure
qualifiers had nothing to do with Blast, by the way. It
Yeah,
was
I mean-
all relog. Like,
I mean, fine.
yes,
for the
but it's for the
MRQ
Blast
did-
Major.
Fine,
Yes,
but
but so this is the same with like the RMRs previously, where they'd get bought out by they'd get like sold to other companies. Sure, it's got the Blast name under it, but I can tell you they have fucking nothing to do with it.
But
It's
how
literally
much-
just like boom.
But I will just say, admins are freelancers. The same admins pretty much work every event.
The relog's a unique situation where the company has those facilities, and sure, like Chev, the observer, he'll do all their observations. Relog tend to have their own people who do basically their events, and I don't see those guys around much elsewhere apart from Relog.
But also, like, what I would say on that is, like, Blast give out a lot of shit to Relog. Probably a beneficial partnership for Relog. Again, like, I'm not saying things like that, but
Yeah.
but going back to your point,
It's
like
all speculation, though.
admins need to enforce things. There are benefits to being more lenient with someone like Astralis, in the same way there's benefits in being more lenient to someone like Manchester United, because Astralis are massive in Counter-Strike. They are still the Danish team, and also they're an org that is. They swing their dick around. That's all I'm going to say on that. They like to swing their dick around.
Yeah.
I've got a. Can I interject with?
Please.
This is a little. It's not really on topic, but you mentioned it there of like the Sky 6 and the whole mentality of organizations can get their own way depending how big they are. There's a big issue in Counter-Strike at a lower tier level. Doesn't matter how good you are, but it's about where you're from. And depending on who the tournament organizer and admins are, there's a lot of you know, if it's a Ukrainian tournament organization.
Well, yeah, we had this
and,
with Russian teams, right, for the longest time.
Yeah, and that's also something that just doesn't get spoken about, and you can't really prove it because how can you? Well, you can, but it's all like in the.
I'd
fine
love to
print.
do a like a deep dive special episode, maybe in an off season or something, where we talk about rule books and the boring shit like that, and maybe some of the changes need to happen, because I think this conversation is probably needed. Maybe not by people like us, but
Yeah.
Can
the
I
conversation needs to happen,
share
I
a
think.
moment we had funny? We
Please.
played this random fucking tournament. It was like the Red Pepper Invitational.
Was this with your team that no longer exists?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
it was an actual tournament against like.
Red Pepper Invitational. That's
Oh,
awesome.
it was fucking random. But I'm almost
The
like.
prize pool is Nando's hot sauce.
Yeah, well, the prize pool was
Blatantly.
like 10k, I think, 15k. So like, you know, it's a decent like for
It's
a
a
team
lot of
to,
Nando's
like,
hot sauce.
Yeah, it's a lot of Nando's hot sauce. But firstly, one of the teams was planted by the tournament organizer as like a match fixing team for certain. Secondly, when we were playing a team that still plays at a decent level, it was a Ukrainian team. One of their players DC'd during the game, and they just subbed. They subbed Captain Kirkeren. You remember the bait player?
What a guy! What
Yeah.
a guy!
So
Fantastic name.
the
Streets don't
admins.
forget.
So like we were all just like, what the fuck? Like the game's like 10 rounds deep, and they were like, oh no, it's fine. And we were like, no, it's not. It literally says in the rule book you can't do this. And they were like, okay, and then just continued the game. It's like that type of shit happens a lot.
Yeah.
And the same happens at the top level, right? Like Esports World Cup had a 15-team bracket with Zhizhe Hao being given a slot to the event, right? Like,
Didn't they play a qualifier?
They played a
yeah,
qualifier.
the MENA qualifier.
Yeah.
That was, it was
Yeah,
like
but that's different though.
Pack Boys, God's Reign, like.
Yeah, but that's different. That's regional qualifiers. That's not.
Yes, for a very specific small slot, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't have an issue with it.
Wait, no,
nor
what
I,
I'm
but
saying
I'm
is
saying is
admin
that
abuse towards people of their like bias, not tournament invites going to regional teams. That's completely different.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on anyway.
Yeah,
unless
fuck you,
anyone's
Jack.
unless
Sorry.
anyone's got some
Well, you wanted to talk about 500?
well, I just wanted to laugh at them being shit when it
Oh.
actually mattered.
I
at the
mean,
MRQ.
well,
I feel like we've
Specifically.
done
the
that.
thing is, if you guys are in the devil chair and I'm in like the angel chair, 500 did win a LAN at the start of the year, and
Against two.
It was against M80. Well, M80 with that. It was the Ice Invitational 2025 in Barcelona.
I'm sorry, has
They
the
beat
Ice
Sashi-
Invitational ever been a respectable thing? Where is
No,
it?
well, what I'm saying is that they did win
this
a
the
LAN.
LAN?
Yeah,
Because
it was a
there's
LAN.
no trophy on their HLTV page.
There was
No,
no,
but you only
well, 'cause
get
it's a
trophies
small,
for-
yeah, it was a
If
25k
a top
LAN.
10 teams involved or something?
I think if it's a
There
I
are
think
4
there's- I don't know.
teams,
Either
including
way-
Nexus, Sashi.
But, okay, but the whole point is that if these guys are supposedly like really bad, then
Sorry,
like
can I interject?
they won a LAN against
Oxygen-
a team. Yeah.
Oxygen went 0.93 in the
Okay,
final.
but like it's nice to sit here and hammer on teams like Zero Tenacity. Probably were cheating. Like probably. I don't know. But like 500, they've got some players who, especially Cirque, like I almost struggle to believe that someone like Cirque could go from the level he was at to then match fixing or like radaring in these games. But maybe that's then the perfect cover up story.
Look, all I'll say on that is I don't struggle to believe that at all, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of names that none of which I will mention, but there are a lot of names who are probably looked at as like kind of respectable figures within their nation in Counter-Strike, like they've been around, tenured veterans, whatever. Then those names are also like very heavily mentioned within the match fixer conversations. Like, we know that goes relatively high up, like that. That's all I'll say on that. But let's move on anyway, because this is about to be a fucking 2-hour special episode.
Yep.
Let's talk about the MRQ. And this isn't the take of the week, but we're going to start by talking about GamerLegion. And the main thing I want to talk about with GamerLegion is the format and the system, because I think they were the team that were negatively impacted by it the most. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read out a few tweets by TLDR alumni Harry Nero Richards, and we're going to talk about them and how GamerLegion were actually affected by the system, right? So the first tweet says, "So glad everyone moaned about VRS and now online BO1s decide who gets to go to the major." I'm fine with that tweet. Completely fine, right? Second tweet, which came after Astralis were eliminated. "This is all very funny, but a system that doesn't qualify the world number 14 and 12 teams to a 32-team major is a bad one, and we'll circle back around to that." And then the final tweet is him suggesting a solution, which is to enforce a 50% plus qualifier invites to normal tournaments, invite rest off VRS like right now, make an RMR as originally intended for each season, a separate ranking where everyone is at 0 on January 1st and July the 1st, which would be the start of the 2 seasons leading up to the majors, and major invites the best 32 teams of the season. Now, I'm going to keep on talking because I got shit to say and I don't care what you two think right now.
You also won't be able to speak.
Got the
after
promo,
you
bro.
start
Let's
finishing.
go. It's a pipe bomb.
McFamine?
Right. Harry, you're a fucking smart guy, and I agree with you on a lot of shit. Like, my thoughts on underdogs, pretty similar to yours, right? The further they go in a tournament, the worse the tournament gets, because as you see in Paris, eventually they just can't fucking hang. But complete elimination of underdogs and complete eliminations of the fucking open circuit, which that kind of does, by the way, because with how the system is, especially right now, and it might not be the case forever, as it is right now, you can't fucking climb, invites the best 32 teams of the season just isn't true. It's not how it would fucking work, because if you look at it, like, sure, you can do it over a certain amount of time, but that's not how Counter-Strike works. Like, people have peaks and troughs. They'll have, like, fucking January, February, March, they'll be great, but March, April, May, they'll be wank. So
Some of the best event stories are when a team who shouldn't have won that event had everyone firing on all cylinders. They came in and had that event. right?
But those teams will always be protected either way, right? Because if you go back and you look at Gambit, you look at Cloud9, you look at Na'Vi in Copenhagen, like they were actually all higher than. Oh, no, not them. They were all a lot higher. We're talking about winners, like they were all a lot higher than people seem to remember they were. Like they were dark horses. They weren't
But not
underdogs.
underdog. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they were actual, and that's like where it comes down to how people confuse terms, which I know you're very good at, Freddie. But anyway, sorry, that was unnecessary. But what that does eliminate is things like B&E. B&E were like actually just not a great team.
No.
But they were very good at making majors. Kind of like Flipside years ago, right? And B&E were always pretty serviceable at the majors. Like they claimed some big scouts. Like all of these things completely remove this. And I don't understand how this system, and I do have issues with it, which we'll speak about in a second with GamerLegion, but I don't understand how this system can be a bad one. And I think Prof said it really well in a reply to Harry, where he just said, disagreed when you were on the podcast, disagree now. GamerLegion were kind of unlucky to miss out on invites for LANs, but Astralis had all the opportunities and were mid as fuck. Below 50% map win rate on LAN this year. Maybe they would be better than a few teams at the actual major, but it's so borderline, I really don't think it would make a big difference to the competitive field. And that is a key point there. Like, GamerLegion, you got a small chance of making the playoffs as GamerLegion. Very small chance, but a lot of Counter-Strike to play from stage 1 to get there, right?
Higher than Astralis, though, I would say.
Miles higher than Astralis. Neither of those teams are going to fucking win it. Who cares? I understood Harry more when it was like, oh, well, G2 haven't made the major. That's now a worse major. Absolutely. Absolutely fucking 100% true. But GamerLegion and Astralis, I ain't dying on that hill.
I'm quite reductive in this conversation because I think it's really as simple as beat the teams in front of you, right? The system might have done this, or failed you in this way, whatever. You have to fucking win, right? You're Astralis, you're Device, you're cadiaN, you're Stown. You have to beat these teams. If you can't beat them in the fucking qualifier, what good luck do you have in the major, right? I think, and Astralis' ranking that Harry like as mentioned in the tweets is only really a remnant of the partner system.
Yeah.
If we were looking like a true organic, stance, they are not 14 in the world. Absolutely not.
No.
They're dog shit. They're hot garbage, man.
They
have not been good
terrible.
for 18 months, at least. At least. And I think just because the org is cool, or maybe you like the players, is fucking great, they have to win. I've been a Nip fan my whole life, bro. Right? I've never cried about the system, though. They weren't good enough. Right? You've got to be good enough. And I think it's just like this weird cope that we seem to think, oh, this system will fix it, this or that, VRS will fix it. VRS has not done shit. I think it's made things more boring, right? We've had the weird thing with the cutoff and the invites, which I think can be fixed. Right now it's a broken system. But the RMRs, right? They were at least fun tournaments. I haven't watched MRQ. I don't care for it. I've seen the results. I don't care. The RMR was a tournament that you could watch. The same with the minors used to be, where you could root for a fucking team. And they could make and if they were firing on all cylinders, if they anti-shot properly, right, an underdog team could fucking qualify, right?
Well, there's a reason, right, why all the players are there. And I can't remember who it was I interviewed, but one of them, it was before the MRQ, and they were like, yeah, looking forward to the MRQs, like, cool. It's a shame, though, because the RMRs were really good. Like, they were the most
the RMRs were on LAN, which is a
most fun, stressful, intense tournaments, and there'll be a big miss. And that's the thing. The MRQs took a lot of that away, and I think that's where we get to GamerLegion, right? Because when you look at GamerLegion, Astralis can go fuck themselves, for all I care, but GamerLegion are a team where we constantly talk about how good Ash is as a coach, and what Ash has done now for multiple lineups. He was in fucking Starbucks, right? So these are the real problems with this system.
And that's not by his choice, by the way. Just that's not because he wants Ralphie. That's because he's not allowed to be in the room.
He actually just couldn't be asked and was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to Starbucks.
That's because, like, A, Hunden's a cunt, and B, and a few other coaches. It's not just you, Hunden, but you are a cunt. So that leads Valve to just, and other things, Valve just don't want coaches in Counter-Strike, which is, again, another reason why Valve should fuck off with having anything to do with the esport at all. Like, pay for the majors and fuck off.
Finally.
But the real problems, right, the real problems with the MRQ are explained with GamerLegion. First problem, BO1s shouldn't be in MR12 Counter-Strike. There is no place for BO1s at all.
And we've seen this with
serious
TOs,
competition.
right? Like ESL, right? Not being biased, have eliminated BO3s for their event, for BO1s for their events now, right? You don't have the day one BO1 because it's A, it's MR12, B, they are easy for flukes to happen, right? And again, like I was saying earlier, if you can anti-strat really well, right? And a team like GamerLegion, right, where there's a lot of tape, they play a lot of CS, right? They play very well, but they can become readable, right, with enough data, right? You can fucking build a game plan, right? Like against any team that's better than you, you can build a game plan against. Do you know what I mean?
So BO1's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
No LAN, awful. These tournaments should all be on LAN.
Yeah.
They are the most important tournaments of the year, and you have to adjust going from online to LAN. There is an adjustment period there, and for a team like fucking Namiga, for example, who made it through, who are just like, all we do is play online all the time.
We did win a LAN.
Fine. But, like, they play a shit ton of online compared to GamerLegion.
It's home turf.
Like,
it's home stadium advantage, right?
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So
LAN, you're all on
that's
the
a
same
big
playing
problem.
field, for sure.
And the fact that coaches are reduced to just, like, the person that prints off the strat sheet before the game. Actually, they're probably not allowed to do that.
I think Ash is just, again, like, I know we're like blazing him hard here, but like, this guy is truly like, you know, you see him behind the team. I think Akada was a good example, right? Like, and they just got rare, so this is a new team, and it was kind of exciting, right? Like, they would bring him out games because he knows how to slow momentum, he knows how to hype the boys up, he knows, as an active coach, and not your hype man type, right? Not your Robans. He's also not your super tactical guy. He's like a really just well-rounded coach that does the job, and it's reductive to Counter-Strike to not have those people involved. It's a fucking loss because the Counter-Strike you see is worse.
No, 100%. But Freddie, because I feel like I've been ranting a while, and Jack's been adding
my turn.
to my ranting. If GamerLegion, if it was on LAN, and Ash had allowed to partake, do you think GamerLegion make it 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10? Like, what's your thoughts on why GamerLegion didn't make it?
It's yeah, I mean, like, it's easy to sit here and be like, oh, if it was on LAN, and oh, if Ash was there, they would have made it. But, you know, like, I think their results prove that. It's really interesting with the best of one versus best of three conversation, because with the RMRs, they're very long, right? And you can give a tournament organizer a slim benefit of the doubt that if it was every game being a best of three, it would cost a lot of money because the event would take quite a long time. If it's online, you cannot make that same argument. It is different when it's online. Like, it does. Who fucking cares? You don't need to compact. Like, it is difficult, but because there's big. Huh?
You've paid the admins for the day rate anyway, right?
Well, it would be a lot more days. It would be like.
It'd be another day. It would be another few hours. It's just opening games at BO1s, right?
If it's a best of three, BO1s are only elimination and disqualification. It's best of one. So a team can play 3 best of ones. No. Okay, well that's the joke. 2 best of ones each. 3 best of ones. So they can go 1-0, 1-1, and then either 2. Like, when you hit 2, you play a best of 3. So it'd be a few more days. But the whole conversation of best of 1 and best of 3s, as soon as it gets online, is redacted, and it's counterproductive to say that we should ever have RMR best of 1s. But that hasn't got anything to do with the tournament organizers, to be fair. It is Valve. But then the issue is like the time and everything. But with GamerLegion and as a coach, I think I don't see people really, like you guys obviously do, but the community really grasp what a coach is, because you can't see how good a coach is until you're in the TeamSpeak. And when you're someone like Blade and you're sitting there with your big dick out and a 7-foot notepad, and you're taking a tactical pause. Fucking great for him. He's sitting there taking a tactical pause, or Piff, if you remember him, the Swedish guy. He'd sit with his notepad and be like, or maybe whichever fucking one. They'd sit there and they'd give these like inspirational like strat. They'd be like, oh, you do this, you do that. And as what Sam said, not every coach is that. So it's harder to see how good a coach is when you can't you can't see directly. And a lot of coaches at a tier 1 level might not be as strategically minded because they don't necessarily need to be. And if you listen to Ash's strat book, he was doing a very interesting, it was on their road to the Shanghai Major and just that in general. He was saying like one of the tactical pauses they took was because they lost a really bad round, and he took the tactical pause and he was like, everyone shut the fuck up, no one's going to speak, and we're going to take 30 seconds to refresh. Those are things that players wouldn't do. Players, it's very, very rare to see a individual player take command of a team and be inspirational or like a hype man, or on the other side calm people down in the moment. I know players who are like that, very rare. So when you don't have a coach who you play with, and for Ash for the last 6 years, all of a sudden you don't have him. You lose maybe, and this goes for everyone. I'm just using Ash as an example because it goes for every X amount of team that played in the RMRs or MRQs. You lose the ability for someone to call your head. You lose the hype. You lose also just the IGL, how the IGL and coach works, because I think that's also something that's really important. A team and a coach is not just a team and coach. It's more so the IGL and the coach. The IGL would probably rely on the coach in a lot of elements because obviously that's just how the construct of it works. And then all of a sudden you can't do that. And it's like, what's the point? And yeah, Valve fucking hate coaches. FACEIT want to add coaches, but Valve refuse to do so for ESEA leagues. And FACEIT don't want to get another lawsuit. So,
well, this is the issue we had. Like, I'm thinking like maybe this is like 2017 when the first coach ban came through, right? Because big teams were signing coaches to being game leaders, right? This is what Threat was doing on NIP. Threat was calling every single round, right? This is what basically happened during COVID as well. Your coaches were calling every single round. Do you know what I mean?
It's why big were better online because God B was calling everything.
Astralis historically did in practice.
In CCTs.
Yeah, which is why it's bullshit, right? But what I'm saying is, yeah, the value a coach adds is insurmountable, right? And yeah, I know the average viewer might not understand it, but if a team is going to play better, then it's a good thing to have, right? Surely. If it's not rule breaking, which it isn't, you know, I just think it's...
I think it's bullshit to have a guy effectively being IGL. Like, I don't think...
I agree. Absolutely.
Like, the whole, like, you can only speak in these times... Completely fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
That you can't celebrate, Valve, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah.
But the only talking these times, fine. Having no involvement at all, get fucking real.
Well, they're not analysts, are they? That's not what they're not. They're not doing prep work.
What do you want Counter-Strike to be? Like, do you want it to be a high-level esport? Do you want it to be elite, or do you just want it to be 5 dickheads who happen to have good hands? Like
the issue.
Do Valve care about the esport, really?
Yeah, like we don't know. That's the issue. That's all I want to say.
No, they don't.
That's the answer.
It sucks
they make enough
because
money from the game.
We do not know. Like, we actually have no idea. And I'm sitting there fucking in any... Because it affects every stage of Counter-Strike. I'm sitting there... ESEA main and advanced is very different to an MRQ, right? But why, as a coach, am I having to use a Discord screen share?
If
That's
Valve...
crazy.
If Valve cared about Counter-Strike, the major would be more like TI.
I don't really know what the fuck TI is about anyways.
Well, the biggest event of the year.
I understand that in Dota. I'm actually going to it.
Well, I mean, you'll see, right? But again, like...
But like the prize pool and that, and the way the prize pool.
I mean, the prize pool's changed, but like it used to be, obviously, like, you know, it was crowdfunded,
40
right?
mil or some shit, right?
It's been up to that number, yeah. Like I think it's a lot lower these days, but for 2 years, I'm pretty sure it's about to back up 39, 40 mil.
It's lower now.
The community funded this, right? Like the community give that. I think Valve match whatever the community makes, right? Really cool. Valve must make so much money, right? People wait for stickers to go on sale and shit. Like, generally, like, there's quality. I'm not gonna get too into it, but like the quality of skins lately have been kind of shit, right? Like stickers, they're not good things. We haven't had an operation in fucking years, right? Like, you know, we had the fucking armory update, whatever the fuck that is, right?
Yeah, terrible.
Like all these things,
And
to
a
milk
massive
even
cash
more money
cow,
out of it.
by the way.
Yeah,
The
yeah, no,
Armory
that's what I'm
was
saying. That's what I'm saying.
cash cow.
But like, I generally think like, I don't know. I just think TOs get so much shit, and sometimes often rightly deserved for sure. But Valve do not make it easy to exist as a TO in the CS space. They do not.
Actively quite hard. It's like fucking trying to set up a company in America. You have no idea what's happening. Valve doesn't communicate most time, from what I can understand from TOs. It's pretty fucking hard, to be honest.
I mean, even like this is outside of the TO level, but like stuff like merchandising and stuff, right? They're very difficult. They do not want to talk to you.
Yeah, and I think
you're like, I'm making you money.
I think the main point is like, because we can also mention how like PGL with their group stages being Swiss, like they did a full best of 3 Swiss stage in fucking 5 days. You can fucking do this. It's literally 1 extra day. You've already made the major a fucking week longer. Fuck you. But the point is, Valve are making anything from what, like 40 to 80 million a month, just from cases.
Pocket change for a guy like me.
I think I gather it's more than that.
Fine, it's more than that.
That's even more bullshit then.
Yeah.
Everything they do with Counter-Strike is not fucking good enough. There is no excuse. And it's all just a symptom of 2 things. A, them not giving a fuck about Counter-Strike. And B, their stupid work on whatever the fuck you want to work on policies. Like,
Woke as fuck.
Yeah, it's just in that sense, they are a negative to Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And I said this when they announced the end of the fucking partner system. It will be bad for Counter-Strike. And so far, it has been bad for Counter-Strike. Valve being more involved. And I've said it on this podcast, or I said it on Deconstructed. I don't know which one it was, and I don't fucking care, right? I remember when we all used to be really happy that Valve weren't involved and they weren't like Riot. What the fuck happened to that?
And this is also the thing where I think TOs get caught in the crossfire, man. Like, you see, like, pretty much any ESL tweet or any announcement. Like, so let's look at, like, the Dallas thing with the fines for teams getting late from Astana, right?
Yeah.
That's in the rulebook. That's always been in the rulebook. That's not a new thing. And ESL thought, okay, let's be proactive. We'll go out and say, this is what's going to happen, by the way. So no one's surprised by it, right? And then there's this fucking theory that ESL are paying orgs to skip PGL events. What the fuck?
Yeah.
The system is this way because of Valve, because everyone wanted Valve's involvement, everyone wanted Valve to change things. They hated, Saudi Partner League, franchise system, all bad. These things make money. These things keep the industry fucking stable. Look at LCS.
And by the way, Valve making these changes made the TOs do all these underhanded things where they're not paying teams to skip events, but Blast have the frequent flyer thing. Feel free to Google that. ESL have, what is it, the club share, or is that PGL?
Club share bonus, yeah. PGL
club
has the
share
same.
A lot
And
of teams
PGL
are club share now, to be
But
fair.
PGL didn't have it.
Which is why, allegedly, some teams were not going to their events. Because the benefit of going and maybe winning the event and fucking your schedule for the rest of the year, when you can just go to another event of the same TO and make money that way.
Yeah. So let's talk about another team.
And also, really quickly, just on the
right.
same topic, it's fucking insane that the public calendar for like TOs has existed for years, right? TOs know 2 years in advance what events are coming, when they're happening, right? If events are overlapping to this degree, that's an intentional choice by one or 2 TOs. I'm just saying, right? Not naming TOs or anything, but these things are not surprising. Everyone knows what's happening. I'm pretty sure this is public, or at least public within, the upper management of the Counter-Strike ecosystem people, right? It's not a fucking accident.
Yeah.
It's intentional. It's to manipulate, who's coming.
So let's move on anyway. There's another team that move on. There's another team that didn't make it that I think we should mention because it's a massive org. Fnatic, Freddie, like, your thoughts on them not making it? Because obviously they had the weird situation with the Borat standing, right? But like, where you probably get to watch Fnatic more than we do. You probably cast them or something. Yeah. Where do you stand with Fnatic? Like, is this team just not clicking, or was it because of this weird standing situation?
Oh, they wouldn't have made it otherwise. No chance.
Well, with
yeah,
Crims, they wouldn't have made it.
No. Like, Fnatic are frequent participators in the CCTs, and not gonna lie, are pretty fucking bad. And it's kind of strange when I open up Twitter after a game, and then like everyone's praising Fear, and like saying he's had great calls. I was like, so why'd your team look like dog shit then? Like,
Yeah,
what?
so is he a myth?
I know why.
Because, well, the bigger issue is it is going against what I enjoy, but like, Burmilov, he was my goat, man. He was my goat.
He wasn't very good. It's a strange goat.
This kid, I remember I watched his first HLTV game where I casted it. And I was like, this guy's fucking insane. And like, I kind of went and looked at his stats. Like, when he came up through Laser Cats, he had some insane stats.
What a name.
And like on Mauser NXT, I think he had a very it was a period where there was a lot of change, and he was kind of consistent throughout that, because there was like a 2.0 that initiated while he was there, and they did really well. And what I don't like is when players get brought up to a team like Fnatic that have obviously certain expectations when they're not ready to, because now his stock as a 17-year-old has completely dropped. But I don't think that's a true evaluation of who he is. However, I digress. Fnatic, they have way too much importance on blamF succeeding within the roster, and it's very evident when, if blamF doesn't do well, sure, Matisse does pick up sometimes, and you can see him coming up clutch in some of the games, but it seems far too inconsistent what this Fnatic roster is bringing to the table. And regardless of Borup, regardless of Crims, there was no chance they were making the major. Maybe they would have got closer, fuck knows, but there is no chance that they were going to go from losing to like fucking everyone in their nan to then all of a sudden making the major. The only single thing that carries this organization right now is the name value and blamF. If they were under fucking OG, everyone would laugh at them. The only reason that anything relevant is because, ooh, Fnatic.
Yeah, and what you mentioned is a symptom of every single blamF team. He takes up so much space. He's not even calling, right? Like, if he was calling, at least you can kind of have another player who can maybe have star roles. But, like, if he's calling around himself, you can kind of be selfish to a degree, right? It's still not justified in the results, clearly. But, like, when he has a game, they lose. When he doesn't have a game, they lose. The resources this guy takes, and this is not Fnatic, this is Astralis, this is historical for most of his career in the last 5 years, complexity the same, right? This guy does not win games. He has great stats, he has great performances, he does not win games.
And the funny part is that
it doesn't matter.
He can win games, but why
doesn't he then?
In order for blamF to win a game, he completely changes his playstyle. The amount of times where I've seen blamF decide, today I just feel like being a bit aggressive, and he fucking shits on people.
His first bullet accuracy is fucking nuts as well,
and that's
which is why
blamF,
he should be faster.
That's why he's so frustrating, because he probably could be a top 5 rifler in the world. He just doesn't fucking want to be.
Yeah. I mean, he was top 6 player in 2020. And, I mean, this guy's had four top 20s.
And he's won fuck all.
He's won one event, which was Blast Prem Spring 2020 Europe. So a COVID event as well.
Yeah, so it just doesn't count.
Oh no, Pinnacle Cup Championship 2022. Okay.
Also doesn't count.
Yeah. Weren't you at that event, Freddie?
The Pinnacle Cup? Yeah, I was there.
Law.
That was actually my first... Because I went to an Epic LAN, but that was my first ever international LAN. And it was like one of my first, like... It was probably like the event that like led me here. It was all because of that event.
Awesome.
Yeah, we didn't ask for your life story, mate. We just asked for
But again, right? Like I don't know if he's some franchise player, but like I don't know what Kool-Aid he's got the Fnatic CEO drinking.
He's just He's a big name.
He's a good player, though. That's the thing. Like, he is a top 20 rifler, but it's just the system that they're in.
But dog shit players win events, not consistently. But like you're either betting on this one guy to fix your issues, and you're gonna fucking win everything, and then it doesn't matter that he doesn't show up all the time because you're winning 6 events a year. He's not even doing that. They're not. The peaks he can deliver are still not even close enough to qualify to a fucking major for an MRQ or to fucking win a CCT or these dog shit stuff. Low expectation. It's fnatic. It's fnatic. And I don't want to be on the Harry angle of like name value of orgs, but fnatic should be fucking everywhere. Astralis should be everywhere, and they're not because the teams aren't fucking good enough. And it's tired to fucking just cope about it all the time. It's stupid.
Yeah. And this is why Cinderella runs are good, because it shows teams like Bait, who are actually good and actually deserve to be at places like the major, get there because they beat all of these fucking teams. So there shouldn't be any bollocks about, oh, because this is a top 15 team because they got third in an event 4 months ago, but since have changed their roster. As much as I hate to say it, like, you know, they're top 17. Should they be invited to the major? Completely different roster though. Yeah, completely
they qualified
different
there,
roster.
didn't they?
No, they didn't. Completely different roster though, but yeah, so big fan of seeing these big name values who just evidently the team manager doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's the thing. If you're not fucking good enough to be at the major, right?
Don't be there. Yeah.
You're not fucking good enough. And
yeah.
I will always hold the opinion that like Nip, Fnatic, Astralis, and like Nip's there because of historical stuff. If those teams aren't good enough, that's on the fucking orgs, because those teams should always be good enough in Counter-Strike, right? Like, you look at FaZe, you look at Na'Vi, you look at G2 Liquid, these, like, historic Counter-Strike orgs, they've all had their fucking downtime. They've all had points where they weren't that great. Where are they?
Yeah.
They're in the major. They've won tournaments, maybe not Liquid, but, like, they've won tournaments in the last couple of years. Like, they always come back. These orgs... they've done fucking nothing for years. Yeah. Like, fuck them.
Exactly. And I mean, let's use this as a segue to talk about the teams that advanced right into the actual major.
Oh no, I wanna ask one thing about Astralis first, or two things, I guess. And whichever one of you presses the buzzer first is the one who gets to answer them. So, first, how do you fix Astralis? Second, where the fuck should Device go to save himself?
Get Device on Na'Vi.
Yeah? Okay. Fine.
I think that's... Other than, you know, Device on Nim, part 2, maybe that's perfect. It's fucking not. Get my Na'Vi.
How do you fix Astralis?
I don't know. Nuclear warhead.
Yeah?
I don't even know who the CEO is anymore, but I'm not going to comment on that. That's get me arrested.
Get Hooksy in, I guess, suppose. Like, I think the whole cadiaN...
But you're losing... Okay, let's say they lose Device, because Device realises, like, this is fucked.
Put cadiaN AWP and...
You have to have cadiaN AWP.
Stout has never been that guy. Stout has never been that guy.
No, he's not that guy. But do you get Tesses when Koyosuke bumps him off Falcons?
What are the roles like? Where would...
Tesses is, I think, potentially... one of the best players in his roles. I think he's criminally underrated, so yes. But
how does he fit into...
does he want to play with fucking Stan and Yabi again? After, like, the shit that happened? I mean, cadiaN apparently did.
Heroic.
cadiaN definitely wanted to go back to Astralis because he wanted to play with Stan and Yabi. Definitely, definitely just for that reason.
But this is the thing, right? You have to rebuild Heroic because the only reason, with the talent pool in Denmark, right? The only reason why Heroic succeeded was because their roles fucking made sense. Yes, they had a good system, right? But their roles fucking made sense. Look at Astralis for the last few years. Their roles have been fucking all over the place.
I mean, they're definitely, like... Denmark definitely do have talent by the fucking virtue that Buzz, an ex-Astralis player, crizN, an ex-Astralis Academy, Mao's NXT, got almost, sorry there, and yeah, well, I wouldn't talk about Bro, but I was going to more go for the OG.
I mean, Bro's in the major.
Yeah,
Bro's in the major, and as far as that.
Very different, but that's not what I was... Okay, same... That works as well, but the OG of, like, Nikodos, Buzz, and crizN, like, crizN's come through from, like, when he was 16, 17 years old. There was other players on that Mao's NXT roster that are Danish. Syrah, there's fucking a lot of talent. There's this Becky guy that's been signed to Sashi. His stats don't look great. His stats don't look great on HLTV, I'll be honest. But every time I've watched him, I've been fucking blown away. And it's like, there is talent in Denmark. They have one of the biggest thriving regional scenes. They've got like 20 different fucking leagues. If you want talent, you can definitely get it. Mao's NXT have got Mao's NXT have a fucking Danish academy team.
But is it good? But is it good enough? Like, this is the thing, right?
But Astralis
Bro-
can't ask for good enough anymore.
Bro-
They are not.
But crizzen just qualified for the major, and like you would be asking the same question of, but is he good enough? He's 18 years old. He went from academy
Astralis
to
think
okay,
they
okay,
can sign the best players in the world, and they can't. They do not have that source.
But my point is, right, 5 minutes ago we were saying that Astralis, fnatic, Nip should be at the top. Is crizzen experienced enough? Is Buzz good enough? Is Bro
they're currently doing much better than all of them combined. So.
Is Bro even good enough?
But this is why you do what Nip finally did.
Nikados isn't good enough, right?
You do what Nip finally decided to do. You blow it up and you start again. And Astralis will not do that. They will cling on to the past glory of Astralis, the past glory of that old heroic team, and
so the point is
try and make it work.
So the point is then, and this is the conclusion I was trying to get you to go to, Astralis have to go international. There's no other option.
I don't think they ever will.
They cannot build.
They are culturally too significant.
They can.
But they cannot. But they cannot build a good enough Danish team.
No, they definitely could. They definitely could.
But what's good enough? What's good enough?
Again, like you know, let's look at OG though, right? Like, are OG gonna win the major? Like, Astralis want to win majors? No.
No, but we're saying that good enough. We're saying that good enough for Astralis is like top 5, right?
They should be.
What 5 Danish players can you put on a team to get a top 5 team? Because Tesses,
I
right?
know exactly where we go with this.
You need a guy to play in down spots. Tesses is also not that guy. And I know this because I interviewed Zonic a month ago, and I said to him, like, Tesses is obviously meant to be a second star on this team. Like, how's he developing? All that. And Zonic just said, like, he's not comfortable. Then I speak to Tesses about it, and Tesses says the exact same thing. Like, he doesn't think he should be that guy. So your other options blame F.
No, I know exactly what we're doing here. We rebuild Copenhagen Flames from 2022. Borrow
Can we kick them
Bird
off the
from
podcast?
Sky, Rolls, TMP, and then we'll get a Danish AWPer. Fucking
exactly.
Nikados him.
What have they done?
Nikados who's not an AWPer, by the way.
What have that team done? Bird from fucking Sky, Bird from Radar. What have they ever done since they had like those run and runs? Ecstatic? Was that even that team? Like with Fasher? Where's he? He's not even Danish. You're saying like, bro, these players were like again Cinderella run when the system allowed that like 6 fucking years ago. I'm probably exaggerating, but you're pulling names out of fucking nothing, dude.
I think
you're on the different Copenhagen Flames roster, mate. You're on the one with Zyphon, Yabby.
No, but you said like TMB and from Sky, right?
Yeah, the team that.
Yeah, they're bums, but you're on about a different one.
Yeah,
no.
So the roster
that was too long ago. I know, but
the roster I'm talking about, I think they just won like every tier 2 event for like 4 months and then bottled the RMR. But like, I was just more making a joke, to be honest.
Yeah, and I was going to say,
maybe
invite you, but then
maybe
Jack
Sam's right.
Had a rant.
Maybe Sam is right that they need to go.
You cannot. You trust me. I've looked into it. If you want to make a top 5 team, if Astralis want to get back to the top, right? If just making a major, which they can't even do, isn't enough.
For five majors, by the way.
For 5 majors.
It's not the first one they've missed.
You cannot make a Danish team that will compete for trophies. You cannot get 5 Danish players that will compete for trophies. It's not possible.
I think that's fair, but you could definitely build a team if that's what they'd want to do.
You could build a team that might do it in the future. I think crizzen looks fantastic.
I think OG have proven that because the whole OG project, I'm really glad they've got this result because this roster from the get-go, people were just laughing at it on the basis of it being OG. But I was looking at the pieces they were pulling together and they got like the Thunder Pick World Championship Finals LAN. Like, okay, it's not a major, it's not a Cologne or Katowice, but it's like a big step for a team of like literal 19-year-olds. And people were, and this is a roster that you can tell the general manager, fucking Vladdy has done. I don't know who exactly did the decision, but they built this team like piece by piece. And it was very much like a team for the future. And they knew that, and people were giving them shit. People were saying this because of the organization, but it's worked, and they're doing well.
I'm with you on this one. I interviewed crizzen. I can't remember if it was just before or just after Thunderpick. That kid at 18, like, I didn't look how old. I knew he was young, but I didn't look. He was
17 then, I think, as well.
Yeah, I didn't look how old he was before the interview. I looked afterwards because, like, he had such a.
Sorry?
Moving on, he had such like a good head on him, like just so mature in the way he spoke. Yeah, fuck you, Jack.
He is.
Like so mature in the way he spoke, the way he thinks about the game, where it's just like this guy is going to be a fucking good idea,
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
he
really, really happy that
And
OG qualified because
guess
the team.
what? Mal's NXT slander.
I just think I want to touch on what Freddie said a little bit there though.
Why's
right?
that Mouse NXT Slander? Go on, Jack.
Didn't they bench him or some shit?
No.
Oh, did they bench him?
No, he got bought out. No, the slant. Well, no. So, no, not slander. I was gonna say, propaganda. That was what I was.
Propaganda, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I was confused. Jack.
Your point of project teams, right? Like these OGs, like your Meta Sports, which I want to get on in a minute as well. These teams where they are not saying we're going to win and by the best talent. They say we're going to build it, right? I get that, but what you've just said goes against that because you said they've proven they can do it. If winning, like getting to the major, is what proves your product is working, then it's not a project. Like getting to that level at some point, sure, and becoming a tier 1 team, but like them getting to this major that's not the done deal.
Yeah.
If they make playoffs, or if they are in every major, or they start getting to more events and they become, that household name, which OG and Counter-Strike really should be, considering the org, right? Then I'd say that's a success, right?
Yeah, 2 times TI winners, by the way.
Yeah,
when it had
money.
a big prize pool, they got money.
I mean, like, I see what you mean, but it's like, it's a product for the future that's already working. Like, that's just a fact.
It is, and that's great, but, I'm trying to think of, like, examples
It's like-
from, like, last major, but...
I do think you're being a bit harsh here, Jack. It's like step 1 on the ladder.
I'm chuffed for them, and I think it's awesome. I think it's great. Like,
It's
don't
come
get me
very
wrong,
early, I will say.
but I just think that a product isn't done based off one result, right? And this isn't even a win. This is getting to the next step, right?
I mean, realistically, the real project here is go up the ladder, sell these players for profit.
Yeah, that's
do it
the
again.
project. I mean, I almost want to argue that, like, because, like it's so easy to, like, and I know people meme on, like, winning a CCT, but, like, OG have already had, like, good online success this year with, like, and, like, last year before they even picked up Nika Dodds, before they didn't even realize who their 5th was going to be, they were still getting, like, they qualified for Thunder Pick, they won a CCT this year, they qualified for the major, like, it's like, it is showing
With a
that
standard,
these guys are,
they were doing that, by the way.
yeah, like, a lot of these things are working. And
Sure. But are those things good enough for an org like Astralis?
It's not
this
good enough
is-
for Astralis.
I don't
That's
think
the point.
they don't get to pick and choose anymore. Like, I don't think they get the right to say
because
that.
they have to win. They have to build a roster for the best.
But this is the issue we're seeing, right, with teams. And I'm glad Nip has finally bit in the bullet and gone, okay, let's fucking start from scratch. But they want to cling on to past success and hang on to a shadow of themselves because they think that's the way
what
of
OG
doing
did.
it.
That's what OG did for ages. They were constantly trying to.
But
like,
OG were
build
never
a
that guy.
roster.
OG were never that team. They were never even close to being that.
Yeah, it was because they had, like, the partner spot and whatever.
Yeah.
I also think, and I think this is a little bit of a change of topic, but on the same vein, teams need to start building not with the ambition to win titles, but to be a consistent, like, top 30, top 40 team. I get the ecosystem doesn't really provide for that, but I think the big issue in Counter-Strike is teams all building rosters to win, and guess what? Not everybody wins.
I disagree.
I don't think that's
entirely.
true. I don't think that's true in the slightest because, like, if you're Astralis, you should be fucking doing that. You're Astralis, you've won 4 fucking majors. fnatic should be doing that. You've won 3 majors. Nip should be doing that. They were in the first 5 major finals? 6?
Five,
no,
maybe?
it's 5 or 6. They won 1,
Yeah.
and they were good for until whatever year, right? Like until they weren't. Right, and now they've still built a team that they think, okay, it's going to take us a year before we even get to the chance where we might be able to compete in these events. But we believe that, based on what Snappy did with events, we can win titles with this team. Or we'll keep growing with this team, right? That's completely fucking fine to do. For a team like OG, with where they're at, Metisport, Namiga, Saw, I'm just reading names off my screen, GamerLegion, like... You should not be building a team to win a trophy. You should be building a team to make you money.
But their expectation, so they'll, like, a lot of these teams, and I do know it for certain, where, like, so I'm going even further down the ecosystem here. I'm not talking about like a SAW or whatever. I'm talking about like these top 60, top 70 teams that get investment put into them, and the expectation from those organizations is that you make top 30, and they have no other expectations. The expectations are like play in the RMR, like make top 30, and I think there's just a bonkers level of expectations in esports, and it's a big part of why the ecosystem is so flawed.
I get that, but when we had the old ecosystem, every team could shoot for a title. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, of course, right? There's only one winner per event, right? But
Yeah.
Oh, this issue was
at the end of it. This is a sport. Winning is
is
what matters. Winning is the only metric that actually really matters.
Especially when everything we play is knockout format.
But
We
other
don't have a league.
traditional sports make it very profitable to be a team not in the top divisions, not in the second division, not even in the third division. They still can make it profitable. Whereas these organizations, their whole profit revenue share is off winning these tournaments and off being in the top 30.
But
And I think that's
Teams
really
definitely don't make money from winning. That's
but
not
what
how you
you're-
make money as an org.
But what you're missing there is that if you look in like traditional sports, right? So team sports,
With their league
flawed.
systems.
a lot of them are league systems. There might be franchise leagues, but a lot of them are league systems.
I actually
Individual
have the stats
sports,
here.
things like tennis, whatever, they're competing for money where like prize pool probably bleeds down better and sponsorship bleeds down better, like than in esports. It's probably a matter of still how young the industry is.
Yes, it is.
Or you're just not going to get that in Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
But again,
I have the statistics here as well. It's like 20 to 30% is from broadcast and 40% is from matchday tickets for teams that are not in the professional league in football. So that's, for instance, there what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but on that
comes
point,
from loads of random places.
especially like I'm going to talk about the football league, right? But winning enough gets you to a higher division.
Yeah,
Winning
and then
enough
you
there,
get
I know, like I'm not going to say Wrexham because like what they've done there is buy an entirely different team
bit
and just buy
different.
players. But what I mean though is, they've won, right? They've won, and then they've got popularity and all the other things that come with it. I don't think OG are ever going to build, a major winning roster, right? But if you're not trying to win, and I don't want to butcher my words here and make it sound like these guys are shit, because I think they're a great team, but winning is the fucking thing that matters. Winning is going to make your players more valuable, so when you sell them, you can get more money for them.
Yeah, and they've already done that.
You should always want the fucking win. I think, and like Endpoint did this, right, where they were just happy to just have like this sort of, sort of top 40, top 30 core that would just, they'd sign a young new talent, play with them for 6 months, sell them for a lot of money. Sure,
I don't think that's a bad thing though.
No, it's a business model, and it works for them, and I understand that, but you should still fucking want to win.
Yeah, of course, and I don't think it's a problem for someone like Endpoint. This is the last we're going to say on this topic. There's a few more things I want to talk about. We're already close to an hour and 20 minutes. I think it's fine for Endpoint. I think it's fine for a number of the teams that even qualified for the fucking major. And in qualifying for the major, they're going ahead with that business model. They're raising the value of their players massively. They're putting more eyes on their players in the biggest moments, which also raises value massively. For Astralis, NiP, fnatic, not good enough. So let's just quickly go through the list of the teams that qualified to the major. It was Heroic and OG 3-0, then Metasport, BetBoom, and Namiga 3-1, and then B8 made it through the 6th place decider bracket, which 6th place decider brackets are rough, don't know why they exist, which meant that Astralis, Ents, Big, SAW, 9 Pandas, GamerLegion, fnatic, BC Game, Paravision, and 500 all missed out from Europe. In South America, Fluxo and Imperial qualified alongside Bestia. The big team really that missed out there is Legacy, but also Red Canids.
I think Red Canids is the probably biggest name for me. That
is that
also
the Cold Zero team?
Yeah.
It's also big because of Cold Zera, and Cold Zera really shit the bed. In the Asia MRQ, which was 3 Mongolian teams and an Indian team, Chinggis Warriors made it. Cool for them. Their first major. NA.
It's actually huge for
Red
a
Canids have
regional
also just benched Henny and Phelps, by the way.
Who they brought
straight
in.
after.
Yeah, they
Funny.
brought Phelps in literally for this year, and Nisen as well, who was doing very well. Also, only lasted 2 months. Roster's fucked, man. Anyways, we
because
digress.
skullz is Brazilian blameth. But anyway, North America, Wildcard and Complexity made it alongside NRG. Really don't think there's any surprises there.
Would we want to
at all.
mention? I know we're short on time here, but the wildcard situation that
Yeah,
people seem to be
so-
really bothered about.
So just quickly,
That's a lot, yeah.
from China, Limvision and Tyloo made it over Rare Atom, which personally I'm quite happy about. And the final one was the Australian one, which no surprise, FlyQuest made it, which is a shame because fuck FlyQuest. Anyway, so Wildcard made it, and the reason why Jack brought that up is because obviously a few weeks ago they played the PGL Astana qualifier with Stewie 2K, and the reason they did that was so they could even play in the North American MRQ, because otherwise they would have been pushed to Europe for a reason I'm still slightly confused about, considering Liquid.
Yeah,
weren't.
I don't know why that is.
Oh, it's because Liquid had 2 people from the Asian regions. That's why. So North America has a higher rating than Asia, whereas Wildcard would have been pushed
Europe
to Europe
is higher,
because
is
Europe,
more dominant.
Yeah,
Okay, understood.
that's why I figured that out.
That's
as I said
bullshit.
it.
Also,
Yeah.
That's, like regions should be equal because 2 Swedes, a South African, and 2 Americans.
Well, Europe isn't equal, right? Because it has the most spots. Like,
Ow.
but
Unlucky.
but here's why it's stupid in terms of Wildcard, because they have Sonic, who is like a year off Canadian citizenship, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Residency, whatever. He lives in Canada. He's been
I
playing
don't even know
in
how
NA.
relevant that is to the fact, but more so, yeah, he's been playing NA.
He's been
his
playing in
entire real
NA
career.
since like 2019. Is basically his entire real career. Right? Yes, they have 2 Swedes. They've also got Stanislaw and JBA, and it is JBA. It's not Jaber. Just want to put that out there.
Feel free, man. You do that.
Well, it really pisses me off when the casters say
Doesn't he
Jaber.
call himself Jaber though?
No,
Oh,
I heard
really?
it from his mouth. I got Fozy to ask him when we were on the interview.
Okay, awesome.
Fozy? I don't know who Fozy is.
Oh, shut up! I don't care.
He's your good mate.
Yeah, you're
you have
good
the
mate,
same
Freddie.
tattoo as him.
So, man, don't out me. But
Anyway,
yes.
tattoos
Anyway.
are evil and unchristian. So Wildcard did all this with their roster, which pissed off Swisher
Some
because
NA freaks. Okay, not Swisher. He's not a freak. but
yeah,
Sure.
okay, which pissed off Swisher because earlier on in the year M80 missed out on some invites because they had to play with Keto because Rek broke his leg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
one of them, and Keto was standing in. I'm not really going to ask your opinions on this because I want to breeze through it pretty quickly, and I'm pretty sure we probably all agree on it. This was bullshit. Wildcard are an NA team. It doesn't matter if they have a South African. It doesn't matter if they have 2 Swedes, right? They have 2 North American players. They live in North America. They play in North American qualifiers. They play in North American events. They are an NA team. This is not like when the Brazilians just before an RMR or whatever would go up to or the minor, whenever it was, would go up to NA and be like, actually we're North American.
Yeah.
So they could get a perceived easier route to the major or qualifiers for other events. This is not like that. They are a fucking North American team, and
With imports, but yes, they're an American team.
and NA wouldn't have as many slots if it wasn't for Wildcard in Shanghai.
Yep.
So they deserve to be able to fight for one of the slots that they earned.
They 100%.
Kind
The
of
region.
crazy that they played like a major only a few months ago with the exact same roster from the North American region, and yet now they have to like almost scum the place.
But a reminder,
This is the issue with the rulebook shit and the semantics that actually don't matter, because you can look at it from a very unbiased, just neutral view and go, yes, that team should be in the NARMR.
and this is just another instance of Valve getting involved in something that they actually just don't really understand. So we're gonna move on now because we've gone through all the teams that have made it. we've got a take of the week. Freddie, you haven't seen this, but Jack has. So last week, the good friend from the
Remind me.
TLDR Discord,
See it.
Taken, was the take of the week, and I don't think you're in the TLDR Discord, Freddie.
No.
So I'll explain Taken to you in the same way that we explained him to anyone listening last week. Taken is someone that should come with a warning label and a helmet.
Yeah, we got one of those.
Yeah. So there was a conversation about FaZe and FaZe's roster in the TLDR Discord the other day, and our editor Mac made a joke saying, I actually disagree, and FaZe should bring in MBK and Pasha and Forest for Brokey, Frozen and Elige. Dupree works to just get the unks in. He's just joking, right? It's completely fair. Taken, absolute terrifying human, comes in and says, I wouldn't mind MBK, not going to lie. I still think MBK can have a career as an IGL for someone like GamerLegion. It's completely insane.
I'd like
You
to ask
are
a
an
question
insane person, Taken. Go on.
When has MVK ever indicated that he could have a career as an IGL? Considering he's never had a successful career as an IGL.
Well, he called a half for Vitality once,
Yeah, I'm sure he did when they were really shit.
and then they kicked him.
Yeah. He was on the first Vitality roster for a fortnight.
So your thoughts on this, Freddie?
Fortnite? I think he should be taken out the back and shot. But
No, we can't do that to Taken. Taken's lovely.
he's
just-
probably a lovely guy, but we have one of the guys like this, and how I say to people is whatever he says, just assume it's the opposite.
He's lovely. He's just got brain worms. Anyway.
Yeah.
He is the only
Shame-
person I've seen to predict
shame he's
the Hades
just
move
dumb.
though last week.
Oh yeah, he was the
Yeah, because
only
you have
person.
to be that insane. That's the thing. It benefits these people who are just that insane. It works in their favor.
It's not insane. It's a good move, and everyone should read the TLDR newsletter from Thursday last
Yeah.
week to
And
understand
also-
why it's a good move.
Taken's most recent, or one of his most recent updates, is that Liquid should get rid of Naf and add Fang. Because of course
I love him so much.
Fang has proven himself to be an invaluable asset
Fang-
to North American
And-
teams.
Isn't Fang? Didn't Fang? Just
We don't
blow
even need
up
to
his own
talk about
team?
what Fang's
He
done.
just blew up his
Because
own team, didn't he?
He's not deserving of the breath because he's
because
fucking rubbish.
They also don't play completely opposite roles.
Yeah.
Just completely opposite. Anyway,
Case
so
to Falcons. Get in the Discord, by the way. I'm sure it's down below. You can
The-
engage with this mutant that we keep
I'm
around.
I don't
I'm
want
not.
to.
yeah, other people get involved. Speak to Taken. I have to limit my Taken intake because it's just too much
It
sometimes.
is radiation.
So the final thing we're going to talk about today, because we're not going to talk about Melbourne because there's been one
game.
day of games and none of us watched any of them because we were either asleep or travelling
Or watching WrestleMania.
or watching WrestleMania. What a waste of fucking time that was.
Yeah, we'll leave it.
YaLLa Compass Spring 2025 happened.
YaLLa.
YaLLa.
Not sure that's
You can't
okay.
call it
Um,
YaLLa Compass. It's just spring. I'm pretty sure it's just Compass. They like to refer to it as.
Well, that's what it says on HLTV. So, anyway, you might be wondering why we even give a fuck, because typically I wouldn't, and I'm not going to pretend to you like I watched any of the games. But Freddie did, because he casted some of them. The reason that we're
what happened
talking...
at YaLLa Compass, Freddie?
What
well,
happened at
I'm
YaLLa
going to explain
Compass?
this, Jack. The
Sorry,
reason
mate.
that we're talking about it is because Navi won the event. But not the Navi you're thinking of. It was Navi Junior. And they're now pretty high up in the VRS ranking. So I wondered...
35th.
I,
LHLTV and 20th on the Valve World ranking, yes.
HTV doesn't matter. No one cares about HTV anymore. It has zero. It has.
Well, they're
no
20th in the world then,
relevance.
which
Real.
is
Then, yeah.
hysterical.
So, Freddie, Navi Junior, take us through them and kind of take us through the event, because obviously all the eyes are on Spirit Academy because of Kaiosuke, and he is
Yep.
second highest rated player at the event, if I remember right.
He's serious gravy, man.
He was second highest rated player
second
at the event
highest-
while they didn't qualify for playoffs.
Yeah, they went out 7th, 8th. Navi
Yeah,
Junior
they went
won
out
it.
in groups.
So, floor is yours, mate.
I think it's actually interesting though that Navi Junior shouldn't even been at the event in the first place.
Why is that?
So this event was supposed to be a LAN event in Qatar, and I'm sure a lot of people saw there were close qualifiers for it, and those close qualifiers actually determined if some teams went through to the event or not. Sorry,
As
qualifiers do.
No, I meant to say to the RMR or to the MRQ. Like a lot of these teams,
these points.
This was the event that they all forfeited from.
This was the event they all forfeited from, and alongside only half of the closed qualifier team actually the people who qualified forfeiting,
not showing up,
it went off LAN because they were overlapping with the MRQ, and people were saying, a lot of people I saw were saying that YaLLa, they shouldn't have organized it over the MRQ. They announced this event a year and a half ago. The MRQ overlapped with them.
Yeah, because Valve can't listen to their own rules.
Valve literally overlapped one of their events. So Na'Vi Junior, they were one of the replacement teams because their VRS was very high to begin with because they have been doing very well. Na'Vi Junior also were shadow banned coming into this year because if you take a look at their roster, if you take a look at their events last year, what are those events? United 21, European Pro League. Do you see a single CCT or anything else? No. Did they have the HLTV ranking for those events? Yes. When now the circuit comes open, they start playing in these events? Fucking go figure. So, I didn't actually get to see a lot of Na'Vi Junior last year. One of the few times that I did watch them was I saw them 13-1 Sangal before the RMRs in an open qualifier and fucking battered them. Coming into this year, I had quite high expectations for them because I thought they were going to be insane. And not gonna lie, didn't play to that level. All of a sudden, though, in this event, fucking everything seems to click. Na'Vi Junior played this like high octane's an understatement. It's insane how fast and wild their Counter-Strike is. Look at Mirage.
They've got two Kosovans.
Bro, this team, the firepower is ridiculous, and I feel bad that for the team, like the other teammates, that Makaze gets all the because of that, Makaze this, because he is nuts. Do not get me wrong, but in one of those games in this tournament, when Makaze was having a rough performance, Dazoogs drops a 3 KD. You know, it's shit like that where against Gun 5, Makaze actually was. No, there was another game where Makaze wasn't doing too well. I think, it was against Amiga. Makaze, negative. Dazoogs, 24 and 16. You know, it's like this team has this depth that is just insane for firepower. And I don't think their year has done them service for how good they actually are. But everything seemingly is just fucking clicked now. Like this high octane level of CS, getting in your face, having insane first bullet headshots is worked out. And a lot of people have looked at this team and been like, whoa, where did they come from? It's the classic people who only watch tier 1 and never watch anything else below it. This is not expected that they did this, but the fact that they are playing at this level is so expected to anyone who had a remote finger on their pulse at the end of last year. And GrimyRannarr said to us in an interview after one of their victories, after one of the 7 times he spoke to him, I asked him just being like, do you actually think you're going to be an academy roster? Like, you know, you didn't, and he talked about how they were really upset about the fact they couldn't play the MRQ and, you know, spoke about stuff like that. And, you know, they don't want to be, I think he said they don't want to be an academy roster. I think sitting at top 20 in the world, I'd be surprised if they are going to continue to be an academy roster.
Also,
but they'll stick together. Ideally,
well, I'd assume so. Also, a big part of this roster is a big part of this roster is Coolio. By the way, their coach. Every time I speak to them, they give. I was about to say that. So, like every time I speak to them, they do. They actually give Coolio a lot of kudos, and you see in these academy projects, the coaches unlocking their players, and I think Coolio has done that.
You know, they've got 2 Ukrainians on their team. And one of them's named Demon. Yeah. How'd you say the other one's name?
Cemetery,
Cemetery.
Really boring. I really hoped it would be Cemetery.
Cemetery or Cemetery.
That's boring. That's ruined it.
I'm calling him Cemetery. That's the coolest e-boy name ever.
Yeah, I hope he's crap now. 1.03.
He's their AWPer. Also, it's really interesting you compare them to Spirit Academy because this team, as a team, are so much better than Spirit Academy. watch a Spirit Academy demo. They are dog shit. They are as a team, they are so bad. Their AWP Alcaran is the most inconsistent motherfucker you'll ever see, and the only reason they get away with it is because Kaisuke puts up a 1.33 record. It's because they have good individualism. Na'Vi Jr. actually play good Counter-Strike, and that's the really big difference between a team like Spirit Academy and Na'Vi Jr., and it's the reason why Spirit Academy didn't win this event.
So, quick prediction. 9 pandas on Na'Vi Jr.
It won't happen. They won't do business.
Because of Na'Vi?
Yeah, Na'Vi won't do business.
Then how does this team sit together then? What org is buying this roster?
Envy.
Well, they're going to have to sell them. Well, so...
well, that's what I'm saying. They're either selling them individually, right? Or...
yeah.
They're doing the Mavs NXT thing, right? Or you let them go as a roster?
Well, so the question I was actually... The question I was actually going to ask is... So you look at Mouse NXT, right? Krizen's in a really good spot. And obviously Torzi, Shui, who's the other one? JDC. Exertion. They're all in really good spots, right? Jim Fat, all came from Mouse NXT. Spirit Academy, Na'Vi Jr. How many of these players do you see being in similar spots within 2-3 years?
Spirit Academy, I don't think a lot of them, but when I look at Na'Vi Jr., when I look at Na'Vi Jr., I think I want to realize what Demon brings to the table, because right now I struggle to see that, but I'd say all of them. Apart from Demon, maybe I don't know about Demon.
Even Symmetry, if he's got a 1.03 as an AWPer.
Well, he does pretty fucking well whenever I watch him, so I guess... Do you know what it'll probably be? I think Symmetry would probably not go to like a tier 1 team, but he still will go to like a team that contests.
Maybe he's like Lumi, who I wanted to talk about earlier, right? And I'm gonna circle back because I have to talk about Lumi.
You have to.
And then we'll end the podcast after we speak about Lumi, because I just fucking have to, right? Metasport made the major, as we said earlier. First Swedish team.
A win for racists.
First Swedish team since what? Cato 19, was it?
Too long.
With 5 Swedish. Long time
ago.
They play some good CS. They're doing really well. They've got a couple players who like really hurt my head. Like Plopsky's doing all right. He's fucking rubbish, but he's doing all right somehow. Lumi though, Lumi is their AWPer, and he's legitimately one of the worst players I have ever seen play Counter-Strike. He's so bad, he doesn't pass any eye test. Even a blind man would tell you he fails the eye test. Like Stevie Wonder would be there saying this guy fucking stinks.
Yeah.
Like,
he's a really interesting one, because if I'm not mistaken, he's only played professional CS for like 6 months, maybe.
He's also like 23 and he looks about 45.
He's 24. He's 24.
He's 20. Is he?
20,
oh,
yeah, he looks about 45. I feel really sorry for the bloke.
Everyone I've spoken to really rates him, and these are the type of things.
Who?
Like the whole Swedish scene think he's insane, and I'm just like, can I?
Can I have what you're having?
He was on Lemon Dogs, which is like a historic like Swedish tier 3 mix org.
Yeah,
and then
it's
Lil
the
Mix,
same as
which
like
is the
Fish
exact
1,
same
2,
thing.
3. Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, like, that's what I mean. He played professionals, like his first professional.
He must be some pug wizard or some shit, man.
Yeah, because his ratings in games are terrible. And so Trav, one of the casters,
he's got a 1.3 average on Faceit, by the way.
To be fair, I will say the more because I think I've seen Lumi like for a little bit, and I will say that I do remember quite actively saying on the last time I saw him being like, okay, this is a much better Lumi than I saw 3 months ago, and I don't know if that's anything to
he might add things to the team, but I've never seen him play well. And Trav tweeted
he had a 1 rating at the MRQ, by the way, just 1.
So Trav tweeted about Metasport after they made the major, and I asked him what his opinions on Lumi was, because I just said, like, I just think he's absolute cheeks every time I watch him play. And Trav said, like, you know, despite an acceptable performance in the MRQ, but acceptable 1 rating,
it's bang average acceptable.
With all the games, he just doesn't, the eye test doesn't check out. And I said, well, there has to be someone you could pick up, right? Like, he looks bad and his stats look worse. And obviously Trav said, like, you know, Fozy, Nork, Draken, like, none of them are happening but
Yeah.
then their names that like probably would just be better. Even Draken, by the way, which is insane.
I wouldn't be surprised about Nork, because something we didn't get to talk about today was how diabolically shit BC Game crumbled at the MRQ.
Yeah,
We'll see how they do with Dallas, right? I think that's their next.
No, this was...
hurdle.
I've seen a lot of BC
they make a
Game...
Stana as well.
No.
'cause
This
No,
BC
just
game,
Dallas.
this performance from them, I would be shocked if they do well at Dallas. Okay, fair enough. They'll stay together. If they don't,
It's probably
well,
because Jacob's got 500 casino on his Steam browser all game. Isn't
Yeah.
it? So,
I saw some
sorry.
diabolical things. I casted BC game at MRQ, and my final remarks was, "This is the worst Counter Strike I've seen." Like, I would be angry at my team in ESEA main if they did the things that BC game were doing.
I watched
That's
the
the
game
level.
against, was it Big on Ancient, and Prime Taps was like the
Oh
only guy
my-
playing the game for BC Game.
I just want to touch quickly back on Lumi. His T side is diabolical. He has a 16
Does he
firepower.
just throw util?
Yeah.
16.
Does
He
he
has a
just
six.
throw util for Hampers? I swear he
Yeah.
literally
So he
just
has a
throws
16
util.
firepower on T side with a 50 on CT side and a sniping of 91 out of 100. So, and
That's
his
so
clutching and
fucking
trading like so his CT side is like those are pretty good measures. He is just throwing nades on T side.
Yeah,
I
was
don't know
gonna
what
say,
Metasport's T side ratings are. I'm going to try and look now quickly.
So-
But,
they're quite good because of Hampers. Like, I mean, if Hampers is your IGL, I'd expect the AWP to be probably not massively effective because on T side, I think that's and
Yeah,
you know, they
sure.
play and they play Ancient as well, right? They're quite good at Ancient. If I'm not
Sure.
I think, and Ancient is
Horrible for
AWP.
AWPers.
Yeah,
horrible
Ancient-
place for AWPers.
Yeah, Ancient's their most played map alongside Anubis. Okay, to be fair, they play Anubis and and Mirage. Okay, Lumi has no fucking never mind.
He should. This is the thing. Like, he should still be doing better than he is, because when you watch him, he just misses shit. He looks like when Nyx plays against good opposition. Like, he just don't have a fucking clue what's happening. But so to go back to them tweets with Trav.
It's just
So
was that needed?
it's needed.
yes. So
Lovely guy. Not a good
so
way.
Trav then said that comment about Percy Nook or Draken.
Yeah.
And Morten Vollen Christian
The accent's not fair, but sure.
Zevis CS. Oh, he's their sports director for Metasport.
Okay.
He replied, "Give the man the respect he deserves. He just qualified for the major." Yeah, fair fucks. He did. He did it by being shit. Well done to him. And by the way,
credit.
I would pick Lumi
He's
over
done better than
anyone.
we have, right?
I would pick Lumi over anyone you just mentioned any day of the week. Can I have your dealer's number, please, sir? I need a relapse, because you must have some good shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The guy is shit.
They have got a nice custom jersey for the major though, which is looking quite
Oh,
nice.
it looks like fucking diabolical cat piss. I'd rather shit in my hands and clap than wear that.
Wait, is it the one that Stats Most have tweeted out?
I don't know, but
I
it looks.
no, I
fucking
don't know. It's just
awful.
like this cool gradient. Oh, it looks really nice. I think it's a nice change to esports
Wait.
jerseys.
Send
yeah,
it
so-
to
so
Discord real quick, and we'll get Max
it's-
to put it on.
It's the classic, like it's the classic ITB when all of a sudden, because they make the major, they just lose their branding and identity for some weird like color shit.
I think that's allowed. I think it looks nice. That's all I'm saying. Didn't realise you
Well-
were so opinionated on jerseys, Fred.
I am quite opinionated on jerseys.
He's a big jersey man, and I think with that, I feel like we've probably said everything that we have to say about Counter-Strike, at least for a week. And at this point, I'm pretty sure no one's listening anyway.
No.
I
If you're
didn't
still
get to
here,
put any UKCS
what's the
propaganda.
secret comment to leave below?
UKCS.
Alaska, because they've just
Alaska.
landed. That's our
Alaska.
comment. That's our comment.
No,
If you're
mate.
still here, get Alaska down there. You win
Alaska,
something.
Alaska coming back. I heard the global warming has ceased. Global warming is no more.
I didn't leak shit this episode.
Justice
I
for
thought I was
360.
gonna-
Get him on a
I
major
thought-
team. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, not sure about that one. So
Yeah.
anyway, I've been Sam, better known as Ray Phoenix. Hashtag Animo CS2. There's a 1 in place of the I. He's been Jack at Nova Design. There's a silent letter in there somewhere.
Yeah, straight edge designer.
And he's
Sorry.
been Freddie or GrimyRannarr. as he once introduced himself to a very influential person in the scene. And it's been nice to have you on, Fred.
It's been.
I'll be honest, we might not do it again.
I won't get out of it, no.
I've had enough of you until I see you in a few months' time. I'm joking. I love you.
Cheers.
I love you, Freddie.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
It was my first time in a while being on a podcast, and
You did great, mate.
yeah, I mean, like, well, the issue is we start talking about tier 1, and I'm just like,
I don't get to watch that.
Not a fucking
Too
Scooby.
busy casting Brazilian tier 5.
You were talking about Liquid, and I was like, not a fucking clue. You start talking about Navi Jr., I'm like, let me get out my 15 notes, pages of notes I have on this team.
Right, let's get out of here.
Yeah, if you are still listening, Jack's going to be here next week. Elliot won't be. He's had a kid.
Congratulations, Elliot, by the way. Let's just
Congratulations.
do a little... Well done. Hope
Kid's
it's
happy
all
and
as well.
healthy.
I'm the child, so can I come back?
Fuck off, Freddie. We're out.
See you
of
next
here.